Alright, it's been a second since the last video on the Xanadu build, and a lot has happened. A lot has happened since the last video. One of the things that did happen is I took the instrument over to Mark. Drove it over to his place so he can do the thing he does best, the nut and the fretwork and all that stuff. The problem that happened, though, that was kind of a bummer, is we tried to use that 40-year-old pickup wire, and it just didn't work. Mark wound one hole pickup, and when he tried to see how it was working out, there was just no signal passing through the wire. And he tried unwinding it and checking for continuity, and long story short, it just didn't work. I think the wire was just too brittle. Started winding it. It just was breaking in places deep inside the pickup. So, alas, we had to use modern wire. It's kind of a bummer, but oh well, it is what it is. So anyway, I'm on my way over to Mark's right now to see what he has done. I have not seen it with frets. I haven't seen it with pickups. I haven't seen it with a nut. He assures me that I'm going to really, really, really dig the pickups, and I don't doubt him. So anyway, I'm heading that way, and let's just go to Mark right now and see what he has to say about all this nonsense.
Hey guys, Mark here in my lair. So, I'm working on this guitar. It is the Xanadu. And I realized that I've been frantically working on finishing up this guitar. And, well, why am I frantically working to finish up this guitar? Kent and I haven't spent any time together working on guitars together or drinking bourbon, as we are wont to do, for a little while now. And I've got Kent scheduled to come over today. And so today, I'm going through this guitar and finishing up all of the last little bits of it to make it a playable instrument. And I realized, as I was polishing these frets, and indeed this is the actual last pad that I polished with, here's what I did. I don't know what kind of wood Kent used on this guitar, but it's pretty beautiful, and the finish is absolutely lovely. This is going to be one beautiful guitar, but it needs something very, very important, and that is frets. So today we're going to be using some StewMac number 149 fret wire, some of which I've already got pre-bent. I'll be bending some of that stuff up, chopping it up into little pieces, and installing those frets into this fretboard. Come on, focus. There we go. Use the right camera next time. So this is a bound fretboard, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, again, using the trusty tang nippers to nip some tang, as I like to say. And we will cut these frets to the exact width to the fretboard and install them using the fret arbor. This thing. and those frets came out absolutely beautiful. I am waiting to level the frets until the very end because it's one of the final setup pieces I do. But before we can get to that, we have to put a nut on this guitar. And that is what this is going to become. This is a piece of buffalo horn. I love using buffalo horn. Number one on this guitar, it suits the colors on this guitar to begin with. I like using buffalo horn because it's really easy to work with, for one, and I'm lazy. It's got a really balanced sound to it as well. So it's not too bright, it's not too warm. So it's got good string definition and really lovely sustain and just good tone all around. So as you can see, this nut is just a little bit too wide for the slot in its current form. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to flat sand this to the exact thickness. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and sand this to the exact thickness that it needs to be to get into that slot. And then we'll cut it to rough length, and we'll start shaping it down and making this into something we can put guitar strings into. There we go. Perfect. All right, so there we have it. We got a nut that has been thickness sanded. Kent did a great job on this this nut slot. Perfectly even the whole way across, so there's no issues there. And yeah, this thing just slots right in there without any issue at all. I can feel it touching both sides of the vertical walls of the slot, so it feels great. So now we have to cut it to length. So I'll give it a little bit of extra on one side, and I'll mark the other side where the edge of the neck is. And I'll also get the profile of the neck. All right, so now we've got a pretty good idea of where the edge of the neck is and the profile of the neck. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but it's up there and quite visible to me. All right, so where are we at? We have a beautiful piece of buffalo horn that we've cut to thickness, fits on a slot perfectly, cut to width, and it came out beautifully. It feels like a guitar nut should. And now what we have to do is we have to round off the top of it to match the radius of the fretboard. And the radius of this particular fretboard is what I like to call the Tunguska 10. Kent is very fond of a 10-inch radius on a guitar neck, and as we know, the radius is just like the top of the guitar neck. So this conforms to a 10-inch circle, 20-inch circle. It's radius, not diameter. So what I'll do is scribe a line a little bit above where the other one is. Kind of hard to see, but it's there. So now, let's do some sanding, shaping. That's a pretty good, safe amount of meat left. Height looks really good. I'll have to take a little bit more off, but that comes in a later step when we actually start shaping it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the positions of the high E and low E strings, and that's basically just done by hand, by eye. That's not something that I measure. Every Tunguska guitar winds up a little bit differently with different string spacing. It's not something we measure at all. It's something we do just basically based off the actual width of the fingerboard at the nut. Okay, it's a good place for a high E string. And this is a good place for a low E string. All right. I use this tool all the time. This is my handy dandy. All my tools are handy dandy for some reason. This is the tool that I use to determine where to put the slots on a nut. Now that we've established where the high E and the low E strings go, now we come in and we match up some slots here. Let's try one more. That's the ticket right there. Fun part about this is holding the fret ruler absolutely still while you draw. Done. We're going to cut each slot with a 12. I realize that's larger than what most people prefer for their even smallest string gauge size. However, we need to have a little bit of play in the nut slot to allow the string to go back and forth and not hang up. So it's always worked out great for me. But I always start off with a 12 on every one of the slots, and that basically just gives me a really good baseline to start off with. I'm also going to go very, very shallow this first pass. So that to me looks really good. We have made a nut for a guitar. No, it's not finished yet. We still have to cut those slots to their final depth. But to do that, what we're going to have to do is actually put strings on the guitar for the very first time. Xanadu will be a real living guitar. So let's do that. So these are a little bit like Spurzels, a little bit like locking tuners in general in that they lock the string in place, but these sure are different. Pretty cool. I'm kind of digging these. All right, there we go. First time for everything, and that includes putting strings on a guitar for the first time. It's a pretty exciting time. I can see we've got plenty of meat on the nut still to take those slots down, which is great news. Xanadu has strings and can make noise. Now, the point of putting strings on here is not to start doing any type of setup or anything like that. I'm not even going to bother tuning it. This set of sacrificial strings is simply so I can get the nut slot depth perfect. And what we'll do now is we'll just sit here and pull strings out of the nut one at a time and bring those slots down until it's just right. All right, so now it's time to change the shape of this little guy. This is the side of the nut that goes toward the neck, and this is the side that goes toward the headstock. What I like to do is create a downward slope of that nut to give it a nice break angle. The slots are exactly where I want them to be, and I'm pretty happy with the height of the nut on this side, so I'm going to be trying to leave the neck side of the nut alone, and the headstock side is what I'll be rasping down, and I'll give it some nice shape on the corners too, so it's a nice comfortable nut to play with. It would feel good on the hand. That's already looking pretty good. I'll start to give it a nice curve. This is the really fun part for me. I love making a nut, and I love slotting things, and I love getting the tolerances just right and everything like that. The finishing part of a nut, while most woodworkers and luthiers don't really care for sanding, this is my favorite part. Here's what I use. We have a set of sanding paper, which is for nuts. Start with 220, goes all the way to, what, 1500? Yes, I think that's 1500. And this is a set of micro mesh pads that I use only on nuts, because I also have another set of micro mesh pads I use on frets. I don't mix metal and nut material, so this one is the way to go. And you will see very, very rapidly this nut come into a good shape. After that, it's off to the races. Okay. Darn close. All right, so this turned out really wonderfully. Absolutely gleaming. Ends look great. There's even some depth there. You see that the different color bone to it, or that horn. That's definitely like just a transparent depth to it. It's really, really beautiful. It's super, super smooth. I mean, I think the key thing to do whenever you're making a nut is to work with your fingers and feel the different parts of it, so you understand what we're working with. It's turned out great. It's gonna look good on guitar too. Let's see how it looks on guitar. Well, in a word, I think this nut looks spectacular. Beautiful shape. Slotting is perfect. It's just the right height. And that buffalo horn is absolutely stunning when you get the light off of it. All right, back to work. After getting this guitar back in, basically just dressed up the ends, the frets nicely. But mostly I was working on electronics, and that includes these three pickups. These are all single coil pickups. And I wound those on the machine. And actually, I went through two different versions of the bridge and the middle pickup. The neck pickup turned out perfect out of the gate, but the middle pickup and the bridge pickup were not to my liking. So I took those apart and rewound them. They are Alnico 2 magnets. They're pretty hot. Well, suffice to say, for single coil pickups, they're fire breathers. They're pretty high in DC resistance, and there's a lot of lines of wire on these pickups. Where we're at now is we are ready to pull the tape off this guitar, which to me is almost like Christmas morning itself. This is the part that I love, because I just spent the last couple of hours leveling and dressing these frets out. So even though they're brand new frets in a brand new guitar, it's still required to level the frets, and I also go through and I do a standard dressing as well. What that basically involves is getting the fretboard, the neck as straight as possible, and then going ahead and using a leveling beam on the frets themselves, and crowning those frets and then polishing them out, which I just finished doing as you were watching. Kent has not seen the new pickup covers yet. I wonder what he'll think. There we go. Brand new frets, brand new guitar. Now all I have to do is put strings on it and do some intonation work and adjust the action, readjust the neck, and reattach the nut. And that's a nice thing to have on a guitar. And we're good to go. Come on now, man. There's something down here I think you're going to want to see.
I've been drooling the entire time I've been driving over. It's been a little embarrassing, quite frankly.
So, I got a few things done.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that we kind of talked about, do we go with black? Do we go with relic? Do we go with whatever? And I could almost, doing a relic version might be kind of cool because of the nature, but it's shiny now.
Shiny, chrome, everywhere. It's got to be, it's got to be from space.
I don't know, man, if you've seen the original in a while, but at least as it stands right now, it's been sitting in the garage for 30 years with there's bird crap on it, there's dust, it's going to take some work, but I'm going to try
It's going to take quite a bit of work to make that thing function again.
Uh-huh.
Well, this guitar, it came together rather quickly, and went through the whole thing. That was just outstanding and yet to be done. And the first time that I put strings on it, it was just wait until you actually play it, because when you pick this guitar up and even not plugged in, it resonates and sounds great, just being played acoustically. But
let's
I can feel the bench vibrating.
That's cool.
Yep. The electronics turned out the way that I kind of briefed you on a while back, but single master volume, master tone, a 5-way switch, just like an S-style guitar, because we've got S-style pickups here. Those pickups are what we discussed, a little bit overwound, but not so terribly hot that they're going to have extra string pull or anything like that. They turned out really nicely. The controls are a little bit different, though, if you start pushing and pulling on those knobs. So that's just the bridge. But if you lift that volume control, what that does is cut in the neck pickup. So now you've got an option that most other players don't have, which is these two pickups in parallel. Cool. So you've got the neck and bridge at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Now the tone control, on the other hand, is actually a phase control, which lets you put that middle pickup out of phase.
So that's the normal, just the bridge in the middle.
That's bridge and middle together, and now if you do that, pull it up, that's the two of those out of phase.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it works the same if you do the neck and the middle at the same time. Really nasally, a little bit quieter too. So,
so what you're telling me is this thing's got a boatload of tonal options,
yes.
Which is fitting because the original had one. I mean, there are two pickups on it. There's the switches, and there's tone. I don't remember hearing a lot of difference, and we'll see what happens when it resurrects.
Yes.
How much we hear, but the basic thing is, from what I'm seeing here, this is more than a worthy follow-up to what was done 40 years ago.
Oh yeah,
we're close. I think we're really close.
Really
close. I'm sure there might be a little tweak or two, but at this point, this is done. I really believe this is done. So next week, maybe sooner, depending on a couple things, the final reveal of this stupid build that has taken. I just realized how long this has taken. You know why I realized how long this was taken? I was looking something up in the old videos, and at the beginning of episode 6, I was in Canada.
That was like months ago.
That was Christmas of 2022.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Standing in front of the Rush building because
Wow.
I'm that guy.
I remember that picture. If it takes you a year and a half to build a guitar, then
Takes a year and a half to build a guitar.
you still have a working guitar at the end of it.
All right. So on that note, thank you,
You're
as
welcome.
always, for astonishing work. Those are gorgeous frets.
I want to play it. You want to play it?
Yeah, let's play it.
Okay.
So like, subscribe, all that stuff. And you don't get to see this part.